Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today, on Christmas Day, on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we're discussing gamers' thoughts on Starfield, and stick around to the end because we got you a Christmas present. Well, Merry freaking Christmas, Randy.
We didn't have our Santa hats on. We should be festive.
We did talk about that.
We talked about it, but then it didn't happen.
Well, it just is what it is.
You know what else we talked about, but it's actually going to happen?
What?
We're going to talk about Starfield. I did a poll, and you know what? It was the most polled upon poll.
It was the polliest poll you done ever polled.
5.1 thousand people voted in this poll. Most ever. First poll to ever break the 5,000 mark. Thank you guys so much for that.
All it took was a little Starfield.
And we're going to be talking about, what do people think about Starfield?
We're going to be talking about.
What are we talking about? What do people think about Starfield?
Right.
So we got this thing here. Poll said, be honest. What did you think about Starfield?
That's right. And, honestly, the gamers said at 6% that they really liked Starfield. Starfield. At 15%, they thought Starfield was just okay. At 10%, they said they were very disappointed. And at a whopping 69%, which is really nice, they didn't even play Starfield.
I'm surprised that only 69% of people, the inverse of 69, what would that be? 31. 31% of people played it. I thought maybe more gamers would have tried Starfield. I mean, this was a pretty big game.
I would have thought so too, especially since you could go to that moon.
Right, you can go to that moon. But in terms of the way the numbers break down, about 50% of the people who did play it didn't, or just thought it was okay. A little like over 16% of people thought that they were disappointed by it. And then a little over 30% of people I swapped that around. A little over 30% of people were disappointed by it. And then only like 16%-ish, a little over, actually liked it. So that's pretty low numbers.
That was some quick math, Cody.
Yeah, it was also not correct. But, obviously, this Starfield was a disappointment. And I think when you look at the numbers, I mean, not to everybody, but overall, it seems to be, and it seems that the further we get away from it,
the more it seems like it never really happened.
It really does. I realized that I've forgotten so much about the game. I played, the main story all the way through. I didn't do a whole lot of side stuff, just minor side things here and there to kind of get a taste of it.
I was the opposite. I never finished the main story, but I did a lot of side things.
Right. But the more I get away from it, the less I remember of it. I hardly remember. I don't even know what the characters' names are. I don't know.
That's because you named him.
No, the other characters, not the main character.
His name was probably Randy.
It was.
If I had to guess.
It was.
You know what my character's name was?
No.
Chrono.
Chrono. You must have just come straight off of Chrono Trigger.
I was role-playing as like Chrono in, the Starfield universe.
No matter how hard you tried to get into the roleplay aspects of Starfield, it wasn't enough to finish the game, though.
No, but I did finish some big side stuff, which I don't know, which is more important. You tell me.
So the way we do this thing, guys, we have comments on the poll. We read the comments. We react to the comments. That's how this podcast works. If you're new here, that's what we do.
That's right.
Let's start off with this comment here. The first one we got is from Spliced Pip-Boy, who said, I sunk 40 hours into it, and I'll never go back. It was the most forgettable game I've ever played. Bethesda is so behind in the times, it's not even funny. I was playing Final Fantasy 16 last night and went, imagine if Bethesda did cutscenes and boss fights with this much detail and emotion. But they won't. They totally could and make a new engine or even use someone else's engine, but they are so set and stuck in their ways that they won't change. Elder Scrolls 6 is the make it or break it moment now.
That's true. Bethesda does not, they don't make like big bad cutscenes and big boss things. Like they just don't do it.
They don't do it.
You honestly, you get to a boss in a Bethesda game and it's like, if you've done your proper grinding and your side quests, you get there and you like one shot them and you move on.
Or
there's never anything to it.
Or even if you're not, you just cheese them to death and then they die anyway.
Yeah.
There's ways around it.
Yeah. Do you agree that Elder Scrolls 6 is a make it or break it moment now?
I kind of do. I think that people are on their final straw now. And I do think if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it is in even just a similar state that we get with Starfield, I think that I'm not saying like Bethesda's done.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think every last little hope is now going to be like pretty much completely dissolved. No one's going to have hardly any. I know that after playing Starfield, my hype for Elder Scrolls 6 is significantly lowered. And if it happens again, I'm going to say my hype for any Bethesda, thing is going to be so low that it might as well be non-existent.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. But on the other hand, I feel like we might be being a little harsh here because Starfield didn't launch in like a Fallout 76 kind of unplayable state.
No.
It just wasn't the game people wanted. It wasn't broken.
No.
So, and I think we probably said on this podcast, like, as long as Starfield doesn't launch all broken and stuff, like, they'll build up some good faith. Like, that was kind of the way I felt about it after we got the game anyway. I was like, well, it's not broken.
Nope.
Maybe it's not the game everybody thought it was going to be. But good on them,
I think that maybe the real problem here, you're right. I mean, you're definitely right. I think maybe the bigger problem, or maybe the problem that has exposed itself, is that if Bethesda doesn't make changes to what their games are, they're going to feel dated. And the more years that go by, the more dated the games start to feel.
That's true. I mean, I just posted on our Discord yesterday that Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition is free on Epic right now. So, hey, great game. But it probably feels ultra dated now. And I agree. Starfield is going to feel dated way sooner than... I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I think it's going to feel dated way sooner than GTA 5.
Way sooner.
It might already feel that way.
Starfield, to me, feels dated now. Like, there are some things about it that are dated. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's move on to another comment here. I'm sure there's more to say.
We got one from Water for Gizmo. Water for Gizmo.
Gizmo needs that water.
He's thirsty. Gizmo said, it was great for about 10 hours. Then I just stopped caring. It was boring, forgettable, and frankly annoying at times. It's literally the game I've been waiting for on paper. The execution, not so much. I felt the same way. It was on paper literally the game I was waiting for. And I did just kind of burn out on it. It just didn't grab me like Skyrim or something.
Right.
It just didn't.
In fact, I think our initial impressions, like after first playing it, were fairly like, okay, it's got some problems, but like it's not so bad. My big problem is that what old Gizmo says here, that it was forgettable.
It is forgettable.
And I think that's like one of my main things. The further I get away from it, the more I'm like, I don't remember anything about this game. And it was just forgettable, which is not good in a game. You don't want your game to be forgettable. But in terms of, the game being cool on paper, I think we're finding out that space games are hard to do. And I think that space games are way cooler in concept than they are in practice.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. And I think No Man's Sky kind of taught us that.
Definitely.
But then they eventually pulled it off. So,
well, I don't know that I 100% agree because I have played No Man's Sky a little bit not that long ago, and I personally didn't love it. But that doesn't mean if I had spent more time with it, I may have learned to love it. But I didn't have that like initial like go into it and it not be at all what I expected. I just didn't enjoy the game.
I had that because I played it pretty much at launch, and it was not what I was told it would be.
Right. What do you think about? This is kind of harkening back to an earlier comment. What do you think about the current engine that they're using? Do you think that they would be wise to move away from their own engine and maybe move to maybe something like an Unreal Engine?
I think that's a huge part of why those games feel so dated so soon. I really do. Even when they say like going from, I think it was a new engine from like Skyrim to Fallout 4. If I remember right. And it just didn't feel that much better.
I know this one was like what is the name of, is it the Creation Engine? Is that their engine?
I'm not sure.
What is the name of it? Will you look it up for me?
Jamie, look that up.
Jamie, look that up for me. And this one is the 2.0, but I don't know why in my head it's the Creation Engine, but I could be very wrong.
I can't spell engine. The Creation Engine is a 3D video game engine created by Bethesda.
Okay, it is. Okay. So, yeah, this is apparently 2.0 for Starfield. Like, this is the new one. And I guess, in their defense, it doesn't seem to be as buggy.
It doesn't. And the shooting feels okay and stuff. Like, the combat feels better than it ever has.
Yes, the
shooting
shooting
definitely does.
Definitely is better. I actually kind of enjoyed the shooting.
Yeah, I did too.
So, I wouldn't say that it was anything outstanding. It was generic but good.
But it's just like the way people move and the way objects interact with the world, it all feels dated, and that's the stuff that I think could really use an overhaul. The combat felt good. You can't say it didn't.
Agreed. Okay, so Oop, look, I accidentally have the same comment in here twice. So we're going to move on. But first, before we do that, I want to tell you guys about our Twitch channel.
Tell them, Randy.
So we stream on Twitch on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, it's the holidays right now, so we may miss a stream or two just because of the situation of it being a holiday. But rest assured, once January comes around, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, we'd love to come hang out with you, or you to come hang out with us.
That's right.
It works both ways, I guess.
Heck yeah, it works both ways. I mean, the other day, Randy's been on a dang cruise ship for like 3 weeks. So, we were flying solo. We were flying a Coyote down, and the stream still, they went off without a hitch. So come hang out with us. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll miss Randy. Maybe
I won't be there, and you'll have a really good time. Thanks, Daniel, for building me up. I need that.
But then there might be a time when Randy streams without me.
And then
and
then it'll be bad.
So sad.
So sad. Okay. Let's just get out of there.
Let's get out of there. Okay. Go on.
We've got a comment here from Jose
Joseph.
I don't know. It's all one word.
Jose. No, man. That's Joseph Tyndale.
Joseph.
Or Tyndall.
Sorry,
maybe.
Joseph. I don't know. It could have been Jose.
It could have been.
Yeah.
That T is what kind of gives it away that it's not Jose Tyndall.
I don't know.
That is awesome.
When it's all one word, I mean, how do you...
It's tough, man.
It's hard to split it up. Anyways, Joseph says, I got 400 hours on Starfield, 150 on Baldur's Gate 3, 200 on Tears of the Kingdom, and about 15 in the Spider-Man 2. The only one I feel like I didn't get my money's worth was Spider-Man 2. And I replied and said, 400 hours? That's amazing. Because that is crazy that you get 400 hours on Starfield.
That is crazy.
I mean,
he must have went
loved
to all the moons.
Yeah, everything. And he said, I cleared 4 New Game Plus on one character. Checked out nearly every planet, or damn near. Some of them got confusing. I've missed a lot of moons. Confident to say there wasn't a quest I missed, but I do that with every open world RPG Bethesda puts out. So,
there was a time when I kind of did the same thing.
Starfield was not a total miss for everybody.
No.
I wonder, Joseph, what do you think about? I would be interested to know, what do you think about Starfield compared to the other Bethesda RPGs? Now that you've had some, you've spent all this time with Starfield, do you think you're going to look back at it as fondly as those others? Or are you thinking that, you were, I don't know. I'm just interested.
Yeah, I'm thinking if they got 400 hours in Starfield, they must have 800 in Skyrim.
That's what I'm thinking, too. Yeah.
And about 6 in Fallout 76.
6 hours.
Yes.
Now, that being said, only 15 in Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man, that's about the whole game.
And it's a totally different kind of game.
Right. It's not the kind of game that you want. You're not going to grind out
400 hours in Spider-Man 2. It's just not like that.
There's nothing to do. I think I saw that, someone platinumed the game in, 16 hours.
Yeah.
Did literally everything there was to do in the game.
Yes. And I don't think that's a strike against it, but some people might say it is.
Well, I mean, some people are really into, said I got my money's worth out of it, Some people really do want hours out of their money. They put the money in and they want them to convert into hours of entertainment.
Right.
Even if it's a lot of grinding and stuff, it's worth it if you get that many hours of entertainment out of it. And I do, in a way, sometimes feel that way, but I'm more interested in having a shorter, really high quality amount of hours than having a bunch of hours where maybe I'm having a mediocre time playing the game.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've changed in my older age.
Yeah. And, because I like to try a bunch of different games. I don't know.
All right. We got one from Morris Dennison. Now, we're big fans of Morris Dennison's name specifically.
We are.
But let's see what he actually thinks. So, Morris says, the game was alright, not great. And if you play through it, the game gets more and more fun. But since it takes 15 to 20 hours to get into, you build up a resentment for it. I found myself asking, why wasn't this fun earlier? And why is this game so full and so barren at the same time? If they would have downscaled just a bit, probably would have been a lot better.
I don't even know necessarily that I think the more you play it, maybe it is, because sometimes the more you play games, the more you grow to enjoy them. Personally, with Starfield, I kind of was I kind of had it was getting more fun, then it started to get less fun as it went on. So I kind of had a little curve there.
Yeah.
But definitely some games do that. What about you?
I do agree. I think initially I was a little warm, not hot, not cold on it. And then I was like, okay, maybe I really like this. And then I just kind of got tired of it. I got tired of all the loading screens, if I'm being honest. But the part of this that I really identify with is why is this so full and barren at the same time? Because I feel the same way.
Yeah. And also, if they would have downscaled, it probably would have been better. I 100% agree. I think if they had just, there was no need for us to have 1,000 planets. Like, no need. No.
And I went to some of those planets, and I had fun, like, running around and, like, going to mountains, like, but there just wasn't that much.
Jumping and then using your jetpack and then watching your oxygen meter and then making sure you don't use it up all the way, and you get really good at watching your oxygen meter and then jumping some more and then walking some more and then jumping some more.
And then you find a place and it says inhabited cave.
Right.
And you're like, holy hell, I've done it.
Yeah.
And you go into this cave and it's not inhabited.
It lied to me.
It lied. It straight up lied to me. I went to so many caves that the map said were inhabited.
What map? There's no maps.
Yeah, there is.
I'm just kidding. There are general maps. The fact that the game doesn't have city maps blows my mind. But anyways, I just want to keep going.
Those are actually inhabited at least.
Yeah, at least they're inhabited.
But yeah, I went to so many caves that the game said were inhabited. And I went to what I felt like was all corners of the cave. Nothing. Ever. Never.
I went into caves that did have people, but they were always that had people in them and things like that.
But were they like, was it like a settlement or an outpost kind of thing? Or was it an inhabited cave?
No, it would have been like an outpost or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I never found people in an inhabited cave. There were some times when I would find like a few monsters.
Well, that's inhabited, right?
No.
Inhabited by monsters.
No.
No, it's not.
No.
Yeah. It's they should have scaled down. If they had made the game with, I don't know, we don't even need that many planets. Give us 4 planets.
Right.
And make them dense.
4 planets. Yeah. I mean, that would have felt a lot smaller, but it may have felt bigger if they did it right.
How many planets did you actually feel like you actually got any decent amount of, like playtime on that you felt like they actually were inhabited?
About 84.
84 planets?
No, I thought you meant 84 minutes. My bad.
Oh, 84 minutes. No, you know what I mean though? Like, you had like whatever. I don't even remember the name of the planets anymore.
Earth.
There was Earth,
Jupiter,
which was empty.
Mars.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying.
Earth.
I know the name of the planets in our solar system. Yeah, it was
Mars.
like, wouldn't it be nice if they only had a few planets and then like you weren't just like traveling to a planet just to travel to a planet?
Mm-hmm. It would have been nice if you went to a planet and it felt like a planet.
Yes.
Like it was like a full planet, and you could go there and you could play with all your friends and just do anything and climb like real mountains and like.
Hey, we may get it with this upcoming game we're getting from our
Lot No Far.
Lot No Far. Yeah, it may happen. Okay. Let's see here. We got a comment from Brandon. Brandon said, the onslaught of loading screens killed the immersion for me. Once I figured out all I was doing was menu hopping from one planet to planet, I uninstalled and haven't went back to it. Also, the be who you want to be, go where you want to go slogan was a lie. I wanted to be a space pirate, but the game obviously wasn't designed that way.
I became a space pirate.
And
then the quest ended.
And then you were no longer a space pirate.
But the other space pirates were nice to me.
Oh, so you had little space pirate friends, but you weren't a space pirate anymore.
Well, I mean, I was. It just
retired.
Just what did it do for me?
You were a retired space pirate.
I could have like gone to the Crimson Fleet and done like, mission like little get money missions. But
as all space pirates do.
Well, I mean, what else do they do?
I don't know. I have no clue. Yeah, I think that is definitely you. And the loading screens, when you realize that like you have a quest and your quest is on this faraway planet and you can't reach it because your ship's not upgraded enough. But then you can figure out that you can just go to a planet that you can get to and then you're closer to stair step your way there. There's no reason to upgrade your ship.
Right. It's literally just like paying for the paid version of a mobile game so you don't have to watch an ad.
It's exactly
like the same thing.
It's the same thing. It was like, but now if we had like actual traveling between planets and it wasn't just menu hopping.
This microphone's making me mad, Randy.
No, don't get mad at the microphone.
It just keeps falling.
But if we had that and it wasn't just a bunch of menu hopping, it would have been so much better. Because then you could have actually needed a reason to upgrade your ship. I didn't need any reason to upgrade my ship until I got to a point in the game where I had to do some sort of like dogfighting, and I wasn't strong enough yet. And
The dogfighting was the worst part too.
Not fun. Just not even fun.
No, it was, and it wasn't like I'm playing Armored Core right now, and I'm on New Game Plus, and like there were times I said this on Discord when I felt like, am I even having fun? This is so hard. Am I even having fun? Right. But when I finally beat that boss, the satisfaction I got was so massive, it like overtook that feeling.
Right.
Starfield did not do that.
Nope.
By the time I got past that dogfight, I was like, damn it. I'm so glad that's over.
Yep.
I wasn't like, yes, I beat it. Like if I had audio clips of me beating these bosses in Armored Core, it would be hilarious. Starfield, it would have been like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, thank God. I never want to do that again.
Yeah.
That wasn't fun.
No.
Yep. 100%. I agree.
100%.
All right, guys, before we read some more comments, I want to tell you guys about our Discord server because we use our Discord server. We go there first for comments. So if you want to have your comment read and reacted to, you have a better chance if you're a member of our Discord server, and it's just a cool place to hang out.
It is. We got a lot of cool people over there. They talk games. They let us know when there's cool, good sales and deals going on in the gaming world. I mean, it's just a good place to be.
It's just a fun gaming community. There's an invite link to the Discord server in the description of wherever you get this podcast.
That's right. Now, speaking of which, we got a comment from one of our mainstays of the Discord server. This is the Laninator. Laninator streams BG3 with us, by the way. Said, I'm somewhere between liked and okay. I enjoyed the game and probably put 50 hours into it, but I guess I was hoping it was going to be a game I would spend hundreds of hours in and get completely absorbed.
Yeah. And then Guy, also on the Discord channel, chimed in and said, yeah, I think that pretty much sums up how I feel as well. I'm kind of indifferent to it, I guess, which is a bit of a shame for a Bethesda game. And I think Guy and Laninator here really hit the nail on the head by saying, like, Laninator saying, I thought I'd really get more out of it. And Guy saying, I'm just indifferent to it. I think that's the big problem. It's not that this game was bad. It was that it was just...
It was mid.
It was just mid, which is maybe even worse than being bad because it leaves like very little impression on you.
Yeah. I don't know if it's worse than being bad, but yeah, it's not good. I mean, it didn't even get nominated for Game of the Year, and it's a Bethesda RPG. Like that's weird.
And it wasn't even like in the top.
No.
Not even close to getting nominated.
No. I mean, I was on record saying I thought it would get nominated just because it had so much, such a name attached to it. But it just couldn't hold up to the year. And
this is what I'm worried about, is that the name that's attached to it is eventually not going to even hold even close to that much weight at all. Like, who knows? Elder Scrolls 6 may come out, and we may not be even having that conversation, being like, oh, is it going to get... I mean, it's Elder Scrolls.
It's Elder Scrolls, man. That's like almost like saying Grand Theft Auto. That's big. Saying Elder Scrolls means something.
Yeah,
now, if it sucks, then it sucks, But
yeah.
But it's not like we're dealing with a new IP.
True. That was one of the things that was difficult about Starfield is you had to sell people on a new IP. And we all know that new IPs are a lot harder to sell.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when they're not executed well.
Fact.
So.
Forspoken.
Yes, exactly. Oh, Forspoken.
Okay.
For broken, they say.
For broken. It's so funny. I hadn't heard that. For broken, Starfield. What was the other one?
Redfail.
Yeah.
oh, Redfail. Oh, Forspoken was on everywhere, though. It wasn't an Xbox thing. Xbox had its Redfail and it's a Starfield.
For broken? That's awesome.
Actually, Forspoken, I don't think it was actually that broken, but it's just funny to say.
Oh, it's great.
It just wasn't a good game. It just wasn't, like, the dialogue was cringy. The combat wasn't fun. It had really good parkour mechanics. I'll give it that. And maybe the combat got better the more you played it, but
how could you?
The number of hours I put into it, it was not. It wasn't worth playing. Which is sad, because people put so much time into these games,
Oh, ridiculous amount of time.
So
ridiculous amount of money. Ridiculous amount of manpower. Like, that's a segue.
That's a segue. Oh, we're segueing into indie games.
So, I'm so freaking excited about this. If you're a gaming gig faithful, if you're one of the chosen, the few, the proud, I think that's the Marines.
It is.
Anyway, you may be a Marine. I don't know. That's cool. But I teased that we were going to make us an indie rubric when we were talking about Day of the Diver. Because everybody was like, is Day of the Diver indie? Is it not indie? Well, it's nominated for Indie Game of the Year, whether you like it or not. And we were like, we need a formula. We need a rubric. We are here today for Christmas to give you that rubric.
That's right. We're going to finally, once and for all, decide what is an indie game. There's going to be no more like, I wonder, is it an indie? Is it not? Nope. We've decided. We created a rubric. You can put any game into it, and it will tell you definitively if that game is an indie game or if it is not an indie game.
Yep.
And to the best of our knowledge, it's bulletproof. I mean, there's nothing you can put to this, and it will not tell you.
We tested some pretty extreme examples, both fictional and non-fictional, and we think it's pretty dang good. Now, we're ranking this on 4 different criteria, okay? The size of the dev team, the budget, the circumstances surrounding the publishing of the game, and the intellectual property itself. Is it a new IP? Is it not a new IP? Things like that. And we're also ranking them on a scale of the unindiest to the indiest.
And that, we have so many things here. We're going to go down one little bit at a time. Basically, to be able to be considered an indie, you have to get a passing grade, which is going to be a 70. If you don't get a 70, you're not an indie. If you hit a 70 or above, you are an indie.
Now, that's a 70 out of a possible 140, I believe.
It is.
But you would have to be the perfect indie game to get that 140.
Yeah, it's very, very unlikely to get 140 possible points. So, but getting 70 is not too hard.
No,
but you got to be a true indie game to get that 70 points.
It's doable. So let's talk about the example that is this on screen? Is this going to be on screen?
We can put it on screen right now.
I mean, I'm not saying it has to
for sure.
be.
Yeah, we can definitely. I can put it on and off as needed.
Okay, so let's use the example that sparked the idea.
Okay.
Dave the Diver.
All right.
Okay, so if you apply Dave the Diver to this rubric, well, you got to talk about the dev team size. The best of our research, now this includes, you got to do some research to use this rubric. You do. But the best things involve some research. You all know that. To the best of our research, the dev team size for Dave the Diver was small, but not the smallest. We think it's somewhere between 6 and 30 people.
We do.
So it's got 30 points right there. The dev team size is considered indie. Talk to us about the budget, Randall.
Right. Well, its budget, we know it had a pretty big budget. We don't know exactly, but it's possible that it had over a $10 million budget. Potentially, though, but we don't really know. We're going to say that, we're going to say that it didn't. We're going to say it actually had less than $10 million in the budget.
But more than $1 million.
But more than $1 million. So because it had somewhere between $1 million and $10 million, or maybe we're just going to say it gets another 30 points. So it's at 60 points right now. It's close to being an indie.
It's close to being an indie. Now we got to talk about publishing, which was the problem with Dave the Diver. In order to pick up 40 points, you have to be self-published. Now, we made the caveat that you cannot be a AAA publisher and self-publish your game.
Right.
Okay. So
no Nintendos.
No Nintendos, no Sonys, no Rockstars, things like that. Dave the Diver was not self-published.
So it gets no points.
It gets no points. And then IP, well, that doesn't really apply to Dave the Diver because it's a new IP.
Right.
Okay. So right there, Dave the Diver is 60, not indie.
Yeah.
You lose.
It didn't hit that 70-point threshold. So Dave the Diver's not an indie. It's very close to being an indie, which I think is why it caused so much conversation.
And I think it works so well in that rubric because it proves that point.
Right.
It was so close, but it wasn't quite there.
Right. But we take a game that won Indie Game of the Year, Sea of Stars. So Sea of Stars had probably a 20-something person team, maybe very similar to Dave the Diver. But Sea of Stars, gets 30 points for that.
Yep.
And then we know its budget was actually, it had...
I think it was around 1.2 American.
Yeah, it had over $1 million budget.
Crowdfunded.
So it gets another 30 points. It would have got 40 points if it had under $1 million budget, but it didn't. It only gets 30, so it's at 60 points. But the most important thing is it was self-published. So it gets a full 40 points for that, putting it at a score of a perfect 100. Sea of Stars is an indie game.
That's right.
So you could use this for all kinds of examples. Like one of the games that came up a lot in the conversation was, what about Baldur's Gate 3? It's a self-published game.
Yep.
Is it an indie game, though?
Well, the dev team size. Let's talk about the dev team size. So I'm pretty sure a hell of a lot of people worked on Baldur's Gate 3.
I think so.
I'm going to go as far as to say over 100 people.
It's possible, but we don't know. Let's say that for the sake of argument, that it didn't have 100 people working on it. Still, though, but we have basically on the far left-hand corner of our rubric, we have a couple things that completely disqualify you essentially from being an indie game. And that's if over 100 people have worked on your game, if you spent over $100 million on your game,
Call of Duty,
or if it was self-published by a AAA developer / publisher. Like we said, like your Nintendos, your EAs, your Sonys, like Rockstar, those kinds of people who are big AAAs who both develop and self-publish.
Or if you leverage a well-known IP. Right. So Nintendo can't pay one guy pennies on the dollar to make a Mario indie game because Mario is a well-known IP and you are disqualified.
Yes. So things you can disqualify yourself, but there's also some things you can do with the rubric to make you pretty much an automatic indie. And that is if only one person worked on the game or if it was made with a $0 budget. It's a passion project. You just built this game because you wanted to build this game.
Right.
If either of those two things happen, you're pretty much automatically an indie. You get 100 points just for that.
Now, technically, I guess you could be one person who was paid $100 million to make a game, but that's not realistic.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
And even if you did, you're back at 0 points and okay, I guess you could.
No, you can't do it.
You can't do it at that point.
You can only get 40 for being ultra indie if you publish it yourself.
Right. You're saying one person got paid or was somehow crowdfunded $100 million and then published it themselves.
Or an independently wealthy person made a game and published it. It's still not indie. There was too much money.
Too much money. At some point, you got to say there's too much money. But anyways, Baldur's Gate 3. Back to that.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't get any points, or potentially it loses 100 points, depending on how many people worked on it.
Yeah.
We know the budget was around $100 million for Baldur's Gate 3, so there you go. It's disqualified, maybe on multiple accounts.
Yeah. Best case scenario, it's sitting at a 0 right now.
Yeah. Worst case, now we could even give it 40 points because it was self-published, and it isn't a AAA developer publisher, so it could at best have 40 points, which is not considered an indie. Nope. At worst, it's looking at like negative 160 points. Definitely not an indie. So Baldur's Gate 3, not an indie.
Not an indie.
There you go. So guys, I can't find any game that we can put into this rubric that doesn't come out to way, what your logic tells you in your brain.
No. We've tried a bunch.
We've tried a bunch. We've thought it out. I think that we need to give this rubric to old Jeff Keighley and say, hey, Jeff, we made this rubric for you. We'd like to give it to you. It's going to help. Now you don't have to worry about if a game's an indie or not. You just put it in the rubric and it decides for you.
That's right.
You got to be impartial.
Got to avoid the controversy. Guy said that weird. Controversy. Connor. We want the Game Awards to be about the games, not the, illicit headlines.
So here's what we're going to do, guys. If you want to play around with the indie rubric and find out if your game is indie or not, or any game is indie or not, we're going to include a link to the indie rubric in the description of this podcast, wherever you're getting it.
That's right. Jump in there, download it, plug in as many games as you want. If you find a mistake, keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Let us know.
Yeah, and we'll this is, it can be an ever-changing product, I guess.
It's a living document if it needs to be, although the version you're getting is a PDF, so.
Yeah. So, we can always update it. But I think right now, I'm pretty happy with it. I think that it really does tell you if a game's indie or not. We did have to come up with the numbers, in terms of the budget. That was at our discretion. And we just kind of chose some numbers based on what our gut told us.
Yeah. We talked about making it a percentage off of like a super un-indie thing like Call of Duty. But then, you not only do you have to do research on, what was the budget of Call of Duty, you got to do it on what was the budget of your game, and then you got to calculate the percentage, and, we just put some numbers into it. If we need to adjust this for inflation in a few years, we will.
Right. I guess we could always say that adjust with inflation. But we did it. This is your Christmas present, guys. To the gaming world in general.
That's right. And I said this in the instructions for the rubric, but this should be considered definitive. This should be unquestionable, and it should be considered a ruling of law by the gaming community. So treat it with the reverence that it deserves, and Merry freaking Christmas.
And before we end the podcast, I do think it would be, just not of good taste for us to mention that this is the 100th podcast.
And we don't even mention
We've not even mentioned it this entire time.
Because it's been so jam-packed. It's been so full of content. We didn't even think about it, Randy. It's the 100th freaking episode.
Yeah.
And we have 100 members of the Three for Dale Club.
I wish we had 100 members of the Three for Dale Club. But in all reality, guys, we couldn't have done this without you guys. We're at 100 episodes. Whew. We haven't missed a single week. Well, Daniel did technically miss 2 of the 100. I've done 100 straight. Daniel's only done 98 with 2 misses in there.
I know I was sick for one of them. Was I sick for 2 of them? Or
No.
was I out of town or something for one of them?
One of them you weren't available to be here for some reason. But you were sick for
Oh,
one
that's
of them.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, so still, I've done 100 of them straight.
Well, I tried. I feel like Randy's been a little unfair to me right
No,
now.
I'm just messing with you. But still, 100 episodes, guys. That is amazing. Thank you so much for all your support. If you really want to support us, one of the better ways you can do is leave us a comment. Mm-hmm. And while you're at it, you can join the 3 for Dale Club by including in your comment, include the code phrase 3 for Dale. That lets us know you made it all the way to the end of the podcast. And what we do is we find the people who say 3 for Dale and we shout them out at the end of the next podcast.
That's right. So we have some members of the faithful 3 for Dale Club here. So let's get it started with AJK, a.k.a. Anthony, everyone's favorite Aussie.
That's right. Anthony is like a achievement hunter from down under.
Ooh, achievement hunter from down under. I love that.
Yeah.
That should be your new gamer tag.
Anthony's like in the top 100 of all people in Australia in terms of his gamer score, or what is the Xbox thing called?
Gamer score.
Gamer score.
Yeah, he's like top, one of the top people on the whole continent.
Seriously, it's crazy.
And it is a continent.
Yeah, it is wild. So, AJK.
All right.
Next we got Kitaclysm, who I don't know, maybe an achievement hunter as well. I've not heard of any achievement hunting.
Maybe also Australian as well.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
Next up, we got Tom Derry. Tom's a very active member of the community. Thanks, Tom.
Yep, always hanging out over on the Discord server. Next, we got Landon Stallings, a.k.a. Dale himself. Now, Landon Stallings, what are you laughing at?
I just think that's such a funny nickname.
Oh, Dale himself?
Yeah.
Hey, we need to get Landon a t-shirt that just says Dale himself.
Dale himself.
No context, just Dale himself.
I started playing Halo Infinite again with Frankie here recently, and I forgot that my Spartan has a 3 on his chest, and you can put like a little 4-character nickname kind of thing that pops up every time you play, and mine says Dale.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is great.
All right, next up we got Morris Dennison. We read one of his comments earlier. Morris, thanks for hanging out.
Next, we got D18. D18.
Omaha.
Yeah. I wonder what the 18 stands for. Have we ever asked that before?
I think we've been over this, and he told us, and I don't remember.
Wait.
Yeah,
hold
no,
on.
he definitely told us.
He did. Let me think. What was it? What was the 18?
I think the letter is like his name. First letter of his name, like David or something.
No, it's like Dan.
Mm-hmm. And then the 18.
18 stands for. Hold on. Wasn't it? It was a number. It was a sports thing.
Was it Peyton Manning's number?
Is that Peyton Manning's number?
I don't remember, but we talked about Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning number 18.
That's it. We decided it. There
When
it
he played
was.
for the Broncos and the Colts. He was 16 when he played for the University of Tennessee, but who
Yeah.
gives a crap?
So there we go. We just refigured it out. That's what D18 stands for.
Next up, we got the Laninator,
The Lantern.
an old standby at this point.
Uh-huh. Next, we got Benjamin Darling. One time I actually put Banjo Man.
Banjo Man Darling.
Which was great.
That is true. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
And next up, we have the, honestly, one of the bigger problems that has faced Earth in the past few decades after the summoning of Majin Buu, Bobbity.
That's right. We got Bibbidi Bobbidi and Boo.
Yeah.
That's what it's from.
I know.
You had Bibbidi, you had Bobbidi, and Boo.
I know. I just haven't heard those together in a long time, and it made me chuckle in a very, childish way.
That's Bibbidi was the
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo.
Bibbidi Bobbidi and Boo. Yeah. Bibbidi was the little tiny little thing. I'm trying to think what did Bibbidi?
I don't remember Bibbidi.
Wasn't Bibbidi yeah. Bibbidi's like,
That's Bibbidi.
I can't see that.
Where are your glasses?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Bibbidi. I was thinking about Bobbity. Who's Bobbity? Is that Bobbity? Which one's Bobbity? I think that's Bob. Oh, that is Bobbity. That's Bibbidi.
Is that Bibbidi?
This is great for the viewers.
Yeah, that's Bibbidi.
Yeah.
Yeah. The people who are looking, you're just like pointing at a screen.
Mm-hmm.
Or even better, the people who are listening on audio, and you're just like, no, that's Bibbidi. No, that's Bibbidi.
Bibbidi is the one that wears like a bandana with an M on it.
Yeah.
And Bobbity is the one that I
So
was
they're
thinking
both
of.
little.
They're both little.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking, in my head, I was actually thinking of Bobbity when I said Bibbidi, but now I realize that.
So you had it confused in your head too. And I just kind of forgot about Bibbidi.
Yeah. I knew that there was Bibbidi Bobbidi and Boo because they go together.
You excited for Dragon Ball Dama?
I am. I don't know when it's coming out.
I don't either. It's going to be a hot minute, I think.
I'm not too excited about it.
I'm afraid it's going to be weird.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be weird.
Anyway, let us know what you think about the upcoming Dragon Ball anime.
We'd love to know. All right, guys. Until next time, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Merry Christmas.